Welcome everybody to 1 hour of miniature goodness. As you can see, I've got that clean shaven look today, so I thought I'd leave my hat off to scare you all away. Today we are painting the Bone Golem by Pathfinder by Wizkids Games. So let me say hello to everybody in chat. We got Scorpler, Michelle, blah 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 blah. Muse's Touch, hello. Tide's in the house. Oh, is that Tim in the house? Unbelievable. Hello, Tim. Corey's in the house. Carlos is in the house. Welcome everybody. Okay, so the Bone Golem by Wizkids Games is a very sought after mini. I've had this quite a while. Let me get some focus for you. There we go. It's a beautiful looking miniature, and it's also quite a simple paint. We only need a few colours for this, but it's a very popular miniature, and at the minute it's quite hard to get hold of. It seems that a lot of people can't get hold of this miniature, so we'll have to check and see if we can get some more stock of this miniature. But yes, absolutely gorgeous. Today I shall be using just some basic colours. We got some fresh blood, graveyard bone, some white. We got some strong tone ink wash by Army Painter. We will be using some air drying clay for the base. Just to give you a bit of the scale, here's my little head chopper man. Head chopper man. I don't know if that's the correct word for what he is, but the Bone Golem is a very nice sized miniature. Okay, so it's quite a large size. So what we're going to do today is I will be using one of my old Games Workshop pots, a little bit of blue tack, stick the blue tack on top of the pot, and I'm going to stick my miniature on top of the pot. There we are, like so. And that'll keep that in place so I can paint it without touching the bottoms. Because Games Workshop make a nice little holder for your miniatures, but you'll find with lots of miniatures from like Reaper and Wizkids, all their bases are they're not round, they're all like this. So it's very difficult for you to hold those miniatures in those particular holders. So I just find a bit of blue tack and you're good to go. Okie dokie, so let's get some paint on our palette and make a start. Like I say, it's a super simple paint today. Now this is probably one of the easiest miniatures to paint because bone and is super simple. Hello Geek Curio. And Dawn's in the house. So what we're going to do, I'm just going to use a number 2 brush, and we shall get some paint on this bad boy, and while it's all drying we can make a start on the base, but we should get it all done in an hour. It's a very simple thing. So we're just going to get that paint on. So I'm doing all the fleshy areas, and then we'll go over with that then we'll go over with the bone colour. Now what I'll probably do is I shall add the bone colour while the paint is wet, because it'll actually work well. It'll just look like blood mixed in with the skeleton bone, and that's what we're after. We're after like a zombie type effect to all the flesh. So all we need to do is quickly get the paint on, and we'll have this done in no time. The hardest part is you've got all these little ribs, so you've got to try and get underneath and in between all the little bits of bones. But there we are, we just work our way around. Don't worry if you're going over all the bone areas, because we're doing the red first because it's the part that's furthest behind. All the bone areas are protruding, so we can do them later on. So we always start with the furthest, deepest part of the miniature, which is all the red flesh, and then we'll work our way up to the top, which will be the bones. Now I'm just using blood red. I've also got this coagulated blood, which is really, it gives a really nice effect over the skin, and that looks really nice once it's dried. I'll just fly along, get this red on. There's quite a lot of little bits sticking out, so it does take a little bit longer to get the paint in the recesses, but we'll get there. I could have saved a bit of time and painted the red on first, but I wanted to show you how I do this, keeping it moist. So we just work kind of like a wet blend, and we'll blend in the different colours together, and it makes it fast and easy. We just work that paint. Like I say, I'm not worried about painting all the bone areas. We're just getting the paint on the areas that we want red, and then we'll work in our skeleton bone. Then we'll make a start on the base, and hopefully this paint will be dry, and then we can start adding some ink washes and moving on with a little bit of highlighting. Like I say, it's very simple. It's just a two-tone paint job. You got your red, and we have our skeleton bone. And skeleton bone is super simple, because all you need to do is give it a little wash with a brown ink wash, and we give it a little dry brush with some white and skeleton bone just to give it a little highlight. Very simple and fast. Okay, while I'm doing this, if you want to type in, give me a free mini, Claire can start taking all your names down for your draw for your minis. And remember, it's all the people that are on a $10 tier and up that have miniatures posted to them by me, because it does save me a fortune on postage when I am already sending you a miniature anyway. Unfortunately, because of these ridiculous postal charges, I can't afford to do it to any of my lower tier goblins, and I do apologise, but I can't just give away free minis. The postage is actually costing more than the mini I'm giving away, which is just ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous. I don't know how these small businesses are surviving with this postage rise. It's Brexit has really best words, Brexit has screwed the country. That's all I'll say about that. It's a complete rip-off. Well, I'll probably have my channel banned for saying that now. Okie dokie. We're just getting this red on. I mean, the red is looking fab already. But we will be making it a lot darker because we'll be having an ink wash on top of this. But I'm just trying to get all the fleshy areas done. And then we can move on with our bone. Just work around these little skulls. Just at the back there. There we are. Like I say, it's quite difficult to get to the recesses of this miniature because the rib cage is really covering the back of the miniature, so some parts are quite difficult to get to, but it is a beautiful miniature. I highly recommend this one to anybody. It is a beautiful sculpt. Unfortunately with Wizkids, I don't know who the sculptors are, because it's one of my things I love doing is giving a shout out to the sculptors, you know, just to show some respect, because it's the sculptors that give us all these beautiful miniatures for us to paint. They design these things and sculpt them and make them fantastic, but it's very hard to find out who does all the sculpts. I've been in touch with Wizkids and asked them, and it's kind of like a taboo subject. So okay, so let's have a look. Give my brush another wash. Oh, Reaper Miniatures raided. Thank you for following and welcome, Reaper Miniatures. Always a pleasure to see Reaper in the house. I'm actually painting a bone golem tonight, so I'll just carry on, but welcome everybody. It's absolutely awesome that you've jumped onto the channel and made my heart start going a bit faster. I was just chilling out, but now you've made me nervous again. Okay, so I've got a little bit more red to add to the miniature. And we're just working our way around, and then we're just going to start adding that graveyard bone. Thank you, Reaper John. Reaper John is probably the most, to me, the most famous person from Reaper Miniatures. He is just amazing. The amount of work Reaper John does for Reaper. He is everywhere. He's like the ghost of Christmas past, you know. He just he's on every social media, everything. He's just completely everywhere. But he's been an absolute star for me, and he's always replied to all my messages. He's always been kind and respectful. You couldn't ask for a nicer guy. So yeah, Reaper John rocks in my book. He really does help everybody, and that's what makes Reaper so special. Customer service. Okay, like I say, I'm just going to the red on for the flesh areas. We're not worried about getting all the paint everywhere because we're going to move into that skeleton bone now. So I'm going to give my brush another wash, and we'll move to number 1 brush, and we'll start adding that skeleton bone, and we'll start mixing that in with the red to get some nice effects for this mini. It's really fast and simple. So now we'll just go over the bone areas, and hopefully we'll have some of that red, and we can pull the red into the bone areas, and that'll give us a nice little added extra. And like I say, I am a speed painter, so if any of the Reaper people watching, they're like thinking I'm going at 100 miles an hour, it's because I paint at 100 miles an hour. I have too many miniatures to not paint fast. So I tried to get all the miniatures done to a tabletop standard for my tabletop, of course, for my playing, for my games. And if I can find a fast, easy way to paint the miniatures, I will. But I still want them to look good on the tabletop, even though I've painted them fast. See, with the red mixing in, it gives a nice effect to what I'm doing. And it really just makes it a lot faster to just add the skeleton bone. Okay. So we're just quickly getting this paint on, and what we'll do is we shall then let it dry, and I will make a start on the air drying clay base, and then we hopefully will have time. We can move back onto this miniature and we can add some ink washes and do some highlighting. But I'm just adding all the areas that I can see a little bit of bone, just a quick bit of paint just added to them. We don't need to add a lot because that ink wash that we add will also blend all those bones and the blood and the gore all together. We're looking for a dirty miniature. We're looking for a nice yucky, sickly feel to this mini. Thank you for following. Okay, just do a bit more here and a little bit just here. Just adding a tiny little bit of the skeleton bone, just going over the skulls. And the red is blending in with my skeleton bone, which I want because it's just adding more blood over the rest of the miniature, and that's what we're after. It's just a super fast way to get a miniature painted and look great for the tabletop. Like I say, the ink wash will then do all the work for us and that makes it even more simple. So we're just following all the little protruding bones, just quickly going over them. And we're just using the tip of the brush and moving along each tip of the bone, and that's giving us our little highlight there on the bones protruding. One little face there, the back. Let's add a little bit of skeleton bone to that one, and we'll move down to another little rib cage in the middle. And we'll just do that lightly over the top. There we are. A little bit more here. There's another little piece here. We'll just go across the top there. And then boom, boom, boom. And one more here. There's bones everywhere on this thing. There we go. Just here's more bones. Just quickly get these skulls done, and then we shall move on to the base. There we are. Just a little bit of paint. It's just to highlight where all the skulls are. And once we've had that ink wash, that'll all blend in really, really well. And some more skulls here. There's skulls everywhere too. Here. And just there. There we go. Okay, so we're going to let that dry a little bit now. And we shall come back to that. Okay, let's make a start on the base. So I'm going to get my hands dirty now, as I always do. Give the brush a good wash. And we are using some nice air drying clay for this base. Nice and quick and simple. Right, so we'll have a tiny little base. This is the clay I use. It's an air drying clay. And it's the Fimo Basic, it's called. I'll just take a little bit of clay out. Take a little bit more. I'll do. Remember, when you're using air drying clay, to make sure you put it into a sealed container. Once it's in the sealed container, it won't go off. I'll just put it on the floor for now, but I will put it in my container a little bit later on. So we're going to make a little staircase, and we're going to have skulls going around the staircase. So let's zoom in a little bit more. There you go. And all I'm going to do is going to start breaking the clay off. And we are actually going to just plonk the clay on the top, and then we'll start sculpting that clay. But first of all, we need to work out our base. So I'm going to take my little bone golem off, and it's totally stuck onto that blue tack. There we are, come on, off you go. And we're just going to work out the base size for the top there. So we're going to have him on there like so. So it needs to be a little bit down, so what we'll do is just get that little push down. Like so. That should do us perfectly for the top. That's there, good. Now we want to make some stairs, some rough looking stone stairs. So what I'm going to do now is just kind of add a bit more clay to the bottom of the base. If I put it in shot there. And we'll work up our bits of clay around the base. Now, I say this on all my shows, once the clay dries, it will come away from the base, but all you do is you stick it back on with PVA glue, which works perfectly well. Okay, so that's roughly what we need there. Now all we need is our water. So we've got some water here. And we have a little crafting stick. And we'll start sculpting our clay and making it look cool for our beastie. Now what I'll do is I shall actually put him there just to give myself a reference. And then we can start working the clay. So what I want to do is make some stairs, some rough kind of stone stairs. So we're just making it flat and we'll just work our way across. And we start adding that water to flatten the clay out. We're just making stone stairs, so we're not looking at super sharp angles. You just want to get a sense of big stairs, big stone steps. Hello Casper Kenobi. Hello Hamish. Sorry, I've been ignoring chat. When you get raided, you can't actually read anything, so it's best just to let it go and do its thing. So I'm going to just cut out a little bit more here and make another kind of step. We're just going to work our way around. So we're going to start taking the clay away now. Just making another little step going down. If you've never used air drying clay for your miniatures, you don't know what you're missing. Honestly, it is so much fun making your own little bases. And with air drying clay, the world's your oyster. You can actually do whatever you like. The only thing you will have to be careful with is with air drying clay, if you make very fine items like little trees, you do have to be careful because it will crack if you don't dry the clay properly. But it's a fantastic way to add some absolutely awesome bases to your miniature cheaply, easily, and it's just great fun. So all I'm trying to do is make some kind of old stone looking steps for the golem to be kind of ready to come down off the base. So we're just working the stone here, making it look more like stone placed on top of more stone. And we use our water because that's the best way to sculpt the clay, and it also gets rid of all your little fingerprints as well. And we've got a little gap there, so what we can do is, well, we can fill in little parts of the clay, just push it in, and then all we do is add some more water and just blend the clay together. Now the water also acts like a glue, so when you want to add more parts to your base, all you do is you add water to both parts of the clay and that'll stick it together. It's just a awesome. Yes, Dawn is amazing stuff, and I'm glad I got you addicted to it. It's just good fun. It is just good fun because you really can go to town, and your imagination. You can do whatever you like, and you don't need super high level of skill to start using this. I mean, as you can see, all I've done is I have dumped 2 or 3 blobs of clay down and I've just made some stairs. But what I'm doing now is just making sure that all the little fingerprint marks have been removed, and I'm left with clay that actually looks like rocks going around. and by using the water, that's how we smooth out the miniature. So we just make sure everything got a smooth edge to it, and then once this is dried and painted, it will look absolutely beautiful. Now, air drying clay takes between 24 and 48 hours, and a little bit more depending on the thickness. This could take definitely 48 hours because that's quite a fair old blob of clay I've put on there. There we are. So we're just making that all nice. Just keep a nice little round edges to the rocks, a couple of little sharp edges. And that to me is perfect. So we've got ourselves a nice little stairway, and what we can do is we can now add some little skulls to the stairway. Now let me get rid of this little piece of yes, I do hollow out the clay. When I make buildings, I'll make the hollowed buildings. I won't just use a solid chunk for the buildings. It's also, I've made money boxes and all things like that. But for rocks like this, no, I don't make these little rocks hollow. Stairway to hell. Okay, let's take this off now. Let me show you what I was going to do with the skulls. Now, Games Workshop, of course, make their skulls. So what I do is I pre-paint the skulls on the sprues. Let me show you if I can find my mouse. There we are. These are the box of skulls from Games Workshop. They are absolutely fantastic for your needs. So I just paint these with skeleton bone. Give them a little black ink wash on the sprues and then cut them off whenever I need them, which I'll do now. If I can, there's my snips. Now the idea is, and I'll put this back just to show you. I'm just trying to show you where my brain is going with all this. I can't stick these on now because I need to get everything ready, but I just want to give you an idea of where we shall be going with all the little skulls. So I'll take about 10 of these little skulls off the sprue here, and we'll dot them around, and what will happen is I will stick these onto the base once the base is dried and that's been painted. I will stick these around, but I just wanted to give you an idea of what I am doing. Thank you for following. Okay, so we need some little tweezers now because I got big fat hands. Once this is dry, what will happen is these skulls from Games Workshop, they'll just be dotted around. They'll just be dotted around the base, and we'll have a couple just on the stairway. Just dotted around, a couple down here, just little skulls here and there, and we'll have it going all around the base, and that'll just add a little bit of flavour to the miniature once it's all painted up, and it'll absolutely look fantastic. What I'll do as well, as most of you will know, is when I do the YouTube upload of this Twitch show, I will include the finished 360 of the miniature, just to show you how it all looked once it's finished. But there we are. That's how simple it is to make a little base for this miniature. and you can add as many skulls as you want. You don't have to add skulls if you don't want to. You can add all sorts of things to the base just to add a little bit more, but just by adding that to the base, you've made a complete mini diorama for this miniature. And I think adding a base to all your miniatures just brings in a little bit of your artistic talent, and it gives a little bit of you into every single miniature. I mean, all due respect to all the sculptures are the heroes in all our miniatures, but when you start making your own bases, you feel more in part with the miniature. You feel, you know, it's partly you as well. It just gives it a bit more to it. Yes, add candles to the skulls. Good idea. Okay, let's carry on with our bone golem, because he's about dry now. Now, what we're going to do with the bone golem is a very simple thing. We shall add some of this wash, but I need to carry on with a little bit more of my bone first, and I've lost my paintbrush. Okay, my paintbrush has disappeared. I'll have to use this one, that's fine. Let's get some camera back a little bit. Excuse me. There we are. Just check the focus again. There we are. Modern technology, I'm no good with it at all. There we are, that'll do. So we're just going to go back over the areas which we went before, just on the tips this time. Just remove a little bit with our finger, and just here. I'm going to see little bits I missed because there's so many pieces of bone on this actual miniature. There we are. There's bones protruding everywhere. Good. That's about right. There we are. Okay, now what we'll do is I shall show you a little bit of the brown wash, because it's going to be a bit tricky now because we are still a little bit wet on the miniature. But for your skeletons, adding a strong tone ink wash is absolutely perfect. Now this can go on to the red and the skeleton bone. This is the Army Painter brown ink wash. It's a very dark ink wash, and it's about the exact same consistency as your Games Workshop Agrax Earthshade. It's a little bit cheaper, but roughly the same. So what we're going to do is we're just going to give this a nice heavy coat, and what will happen is this brown ink wash will go into all the recesses that we've painted, and give us a lovely effect. Now I have to be careful because some of the miniature is still wet, so we might make a complete mess of this, but I'm trying to show you quickly within the hour what we're up to. So what I do is a little bit at a time. I just let all that ink wash go into the recesses, and then of course I've got my little cotton bud here. I take away the excess, and what I'm going to do with the cotton bud is go over the highest areas of the bone and just go along each part of the bone just on the highest areas, and that will give us an instant highlight to each piece of bone. Okay, moving back, we'll do the other side. We just go straight along all the bone. It's just a heavy wash. It's like I say, this is an absolutely simple miniature to paint, and the ink wash just does all the work for you. It's super simple. again, we're just removing the ink wash on the highest areas, and of course if you've got any pooling, you just take away the excess with our cotton bud, and we're just moving along in little sections. I'll go down here now. We want to get all that lovely dark ink wash into the eyes of all the skulls, and the ink wash will fill up those sockets and give you a lovely dark recess. Move all the way down to the fingers, and again we're doing it in sections so we can have control of the ink wash, and we can make slight adjustments as we go along. Again, we're moving another one of these cotton buds. We're just taking the ink wash away from the ends of the claws, the claw bones. This will give us a nice sharp looking edge to... Stop talking with your bloody thing in your mouth. This will give us a nice edge to our little fingernails. Top of the skulls as well, we just take away the actual excess, and that works well as so. Okay, again carrying on, we shall move to the top of the miniature, and we've got all these skulls, and we're going to go very heavily now and just add all that ink wash and let it go into all the recesses of the eyes, because this is the part which draws your attention. This is the main part of the miniature and the first thing you shall look at when you see a miniature on the tabletop. So we'll just move on around here, and again, stop putting it in your mouth. We shall go back and we shall remove the top layer of ink wash on each one of these skulls. This gives us an instant highlight on the top of every skull. Very, very simple to do, and it saves you so much work, because normally you could be layering and layering and layering more and more different colours onto your miniature. This is just a super fast way of having instant highlights with minimal effort. But what happens is you end up with a miniature that you've painted very fast, but it looks absolutely fab for your tabletop. And again, we'll go back with our cotton buds. We're going to remove the excess on the ends of the claws. This gives us a lovely sharp edge to that end of the claws. It looks like it's been attacking everybody. And again, on each skull, we're just moving and taking off a tiny bit of that ink wash, and that makes it look quite bright. And it's a very simple way of adding a nice effect to the miniature. Now, when I started this miniature, I was saying to you, we were adding those reds and those the skeleton bone together, and I didn't mind them mixing in, and this is why I didn't mind those colours mixing in and looking a bit of a odd job with the reds and the browns, because the reds the reds and the skeleton bone, because we're adding this ink wash. We're getting a very dirty effect, and because it's such a heavy brown ink wash, it's actually blending all those colours together and giving a very nice, dirty, grimy, bloody effect to the miniature, and this is what we're after. Oops, I need to have more ink wash. Okay, so we'll just carry on a little bit more. We'll just get all this ink wash on, and we're just going through all the areas now, just adding a nice heavy wash. And we're doing it in sections, like I say, because then you've got more control of the ink wash. Now ink wash will start pooling, and that's why we control it in sections, especially on the larger miniatures. On the smaller miniatures you can get away with it. but the brown ink wash is going into all the lovely recesses of the... thank you for following. Going into all the nice recesses of the miniature, which is making it a super fast and easy speed paint ready for your tabletop. Now, I haven't painted the bottom skulls here. I'll paint them later. Now, I haven't painted them because this is where I'm... Thank you for following. I'm not painting the bottom because this is where I'm holding the miniature. So I'm trying to keep myself from getting paint everywhere. But I will finish that off later. Okay, so... So the mini is absolutely looking awesome already, and so a quick recap. I've just painted the miniature straight out of the box. I painted it with some MSP Fresh Blood, and I've used some Graveyard Bone, and then all I've done is I've gone over with some strong tone ink wash, and it's an absolute joy to paint. It's a very simple miniature to paint. And you get a very, very beautiful looking miniature just by doing a few simple little things. Just by using these cotton buds, you're working with the ink, you're removing the ink, and that's the most important part. You don't want to let the ink wash pull. I say this so many times. Some people just slap on the ink wash. It's not as simple as just putting on a whole pile of ink wash on your miniatures. You need to control the ink wash, and if you work with the ink wash and remove ink washes in certain places, it actually works to your advantage and can save you a lot of time in your painting. But the worst thing you can do is let the ink wash pull in areas. So the most important part of using an ink wash is making sure that the ink wash does not pull, because what will happen is once it fully dries, you're going to get big blobs of ink wash, and that looks absolutely disgusting on a model. So all we're doing is we're making sure that that ink wash isn't pulling in places, and it's an all over even coat of ink wash. And we just use these little cotton buds to make sure we got the areas we wanted more highlighted done. Now I'm going to have to leave this to dry now, so there's not anything else I can really do to this today, but as you can see, it's an awesome looking miniature, and just by adding that ink wash, it's come to life instantly. Now I don't know what time it is. There we are then. So there we are, it's almost time to finish anyway, so that was a very good stream. Now let me put this on here for you just to show you a last little item. So today we have added a little base. So we've used our air drying clay to add the steps. We'll have some little skulls from Games Workshop, and we have our Pathfinder Golem from the Pathfinder from Wizkids games. I got my words all confused there. So there we are. I hope you really enjoyed the show. It's only for an hour, but I try to get as much as I can and to show you in that hour. Now, if I'll be back on Monday, and Monday is my Reaper Miniatures stream, so I hope you'll pop in and see me on Monday. Thank you so much for the raid by Reaper Miniatures, and I will hope you... God, I can't speak. I wish you all a lovely weekend. Loads of love to every single one of you, and thank you so much for popping in today. So I'll say goodnight to everybody.